Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
That's the size, that's the height.
Yes. Yeah. Audience 1, mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The game. Really? It's really cozy. So, I could get Gmail, but I couldn't get Roadrunner. It was weird.
Yeah, I know I saw her.
need somebody who's gonna keep things calm and balanced.
Yeah, try to get closer to the beach. Karen Hall, she's a dentist. She was in three quarters.
Yeah.
She's a very well-read person, funny person. She travels so much. Last time you told me, it's going to be the last meeting.
I know.
I wouldn't have known, I just didn't realize it.
welcome. Beach Advisory Committee, and we do have a quorum. We have one more member who was supposed to be here, and hopefully he'll show up shortly. The first item on the agenda is the minutes of October 16th, 2017. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll move.
Second?
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We usually have two opportunities for the public to comment, and we're going to open it to the public right now for any comments that are not on the agenda, and we'll open it to the public again before we close the meeting. So is there anyone who has a question, comment? If you please go to the mic and tell us your name and where you live.
Richard, I have a question about Sandy Pines. I know we've done some things on behalf of the beach people to talk about the Sandy Pines development and its potential impact on the beach. Are you planning on talking about that in this meeting, or from people here who have any comments on that?
Not really.
No?
I mean, obviously, as a member, if you want to bring it up, Bob, the planning board is going to meet this Wednesday. It's going to be a continuation of their public meeting. I've appeared before the planning board, but not as a member of the Beach Advisory Committee, because I don't believe that our advisory status extends to that development. But clearly, Bob, if you want to address some issue as to Sandy Pines, please.
Oh, I didn't mean to make it a topic if it weren't intentional in this place. I didn't know if people were here in part because of questions on Sandy Pines or what we're doing or not. So be it. If it's at rest, I would let it be at rest, and I'll see you at the planning meeting on the 21st.
Well, a question, any of you have questions about Sandy Pines that you were intending to bring up tonight?
Great.
Okay.
Good.
Well, to another subdivision, next item on the agenda is Binnacle Hill. And that's before the planning board for another, I guess, 13 units off of New Bedford Road. And it's not a question before us in terms of that development, that's the planning board, but there were questions from people, especially in Jeffrey's Way, about safety and the amount of traffic that Binnacle Hill will create, especially pedestrian traffic and their safety. I guess maybe it's a point, Laurie, you and I spoke last week about the BAC's request to have New Bedford Road consistent with Kings Highway during the season at 20 miles an hour. And you at least have a verbal, as I understand it, that the state, in its ultimate wisdom, declined to allow us to reduce the speed to 25.
Yeah, so we had sent a request to DOT to review the speed limit with several issues noted. We have not received a response from DOT. They normally do a analysis and study, and then they'll send us their decision. So we've asked a couple of different times, and we're told that the report would be forthcoming shortly, and they were just sending it out, and we have not received it yet. So we called again. March 1st is the last time we heard from them, and I asked for an email response, And the email to Chief Sanford says, "This message follows our telephone conversation concerning the speed zone review for New Bedford Road and Dyke Road. Our traffic engineer completed this review and has recommended no change to the existing speed limits as posted. We will forward a formal commission record memo documenting this after it has been fully executed." And we have not received a final document yet.
When you and I spoke last week, we talked about informing the state about the Pinnacle Hill development because we do not believe that that was something that was taken into consideration.
Well, it's something that certainly wasn't in existence when they did their initial study.
So have you forwarded something to the state about that?
I haven't. I thought you guys were gonna talk about it tonight, so I haven't taken any action on it.
Anyone else have any comments on the board?
I'm interested to hear, I assume some of you are here because of interest in Pinnacle Hill and its potential traffic flow to the beach and what it may lead to. And I don't, Richard, but I assume some of these people can.
Please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ray Lockard, and I live at the corner of New Bedford and Kings Highway. So this issue is obviously front of mind for us as it relates not just to Pinnacle Hill, but the safety of that road and frankly the stop sign intersection that's right at the corner of where we live. And I think that there's a couple of issues here. One is I appreciate the effort to try to get the speed limit reduced in the effort of, in the interest of safety. The harsh reality is that, after living now at the beach full-time for 2 years, there's, other than drive-throughs, there's zero traffic enforcement on that road, off-season or in-season. The local police, the state police set up at the Goose Rocks Fire Station to get people on Route 9. That's about the extent of any traffic enforcement. So unfortunately, dropping the speed limit to 10 miles an hour, I don't know what that impact that's going to have if it's not enforced. Something I was going to bring up in new business and I will table until then is that the people who blow through the stop signs, unfortunately residents included, is increasing at an incredible rate. And with more and more pedestrian traffic coming through that intersection down to Jeffries with increased vehicular traffic, the unfortunate reality is that we've seen a number of close calls, being that it's right outside our window, and I think personally it's just a matter of time before there's really a catastrophic event which may taint our experience at the beach for a long time. So I think the real issue here is that yes, there's the parking on New Bedford is a problem because it pushes, there's the walking lane, but people still don't adhere to that. And then frankly, the traffic enforcement is the real issue here. If we could get some increased traffic enforcement, I think that's the better way to try to pursue it. The police department, but again, they're probably going to say they're resource constrained and not be able to execute on that. So, and then finally, all we see, in the summertime is 2 hours on the front end of the day and 2 hours on the back end of the day of Jeffries becoming a drop-off zone, with cars in and out, and again becoming a major safety issue because you have people that are parking down there temporarily that aren't supposed to be parking down there, and it creates a real issue with kids coming off the beach, running, not paying attention. I don't imagine that these people are going to haul their boogie boards and all those kind of things all the way down Pinnacle Hill on foot. So we're going to have an increased number of folks coming down here to do, I'm just obviously postulating here, but there's going to be drop-off and pickup from another however many sets of cars, again, every day down there. And it's becoming a real issue. And again, that particular is not, we don't live right on Jeffries, but do hear frustrations from the neighbors there about the way people park and kids getting dressed and all these kind of things down there. So I'll leave it at that for the moment.
Sort of in defense of the police department, let me just say it. At least at Dyke Road, they have two places where they can pull the cars in, and they do give tickets there. It is difficult in terms of New Bedford Road. They've done a number of traffic studies. The average speed limit on the 25-mile stretch, not the 30-mile stretch, is pretty close to 25. Now, is that, I mean, I see someone shaking her head, and having walked New Bedford Road, I know that, and regularly at one point in time, I know that people speed, especially in the 30-mile-an-hour area. There's really no place for a police car to pull in, and obviously if the police car is visible, people are going to obey the speed limit. But I'm sure it's something that the manager can discuss with the chief of police and see whether there's anything that can be done. There have been constant complaints, certainly in the 5+ years that the Beach Advisory Committee has been in existence. We've had the complaints every year about the speed on New Bedford Road. As a result of the issue of people walking on New Bedford Road, and as you mentioned, the parking on one side and the pathway on the other, we did request that the state permit 20-mile-an-hour, and candidly, it makes no sense for them to deny it. I'm not sure. The engineer who reviewed it couldn't have possibly spent more than a nanosecond looking at it. They get requests all the time for reducing speed limit, and it's denial, denial, denial. But it took a couple of years for the former chief of police to get 20 miles an hour seasonally on Kings Highway. And I guess we'll just have to bird dog it and pester the state to try and get the speed limit on New Bedford reduced. That will help somewhat. The other issue you raise, and some of the residents have raised, is the traffic on Jeffries Way, because there's no turnaround. And some of the residents there have said enough is enough in terms of turning around in their driveway, so they're going to block their driveways so people cannot turn around. And then there is the question of the person with the kayaks and what have you, who delivers them there, and so he's got a large pickup truck and a trailer, and he has to back out. So it is an issue that I would like the manager to discuss with Chief Sanford and see whether there's anything that we can do. Even the parking spaces down there are an issue, because it's pretty difficult to do a K-turn. It's a narrow road, but there are parking spaces. And we also have, there's one handicap. Isn't there another? One of the issues that I guess that you had, that you got, Kate, was for an additional handicap on Jeffries Way.
That must be on I think that must be in the comments from the Elder Committee, in the surveys that they did.
Yeah, okay, 61. I also often use handicap parking spot on Jeffries Way. Could we have 2 spots there? I don't know. Unless anybody on board objects, I'd like the manager to, one, go back to DOT and talk about Bickle Hill, and 2, talk to the chief of police as to what we can do in the way of both enforcement on New Bedford Road and what we can do in terms of the movement of traffic on Jeffries Way. truck with a trailer getting down there.
Quick question. I assume that because we see the business with the trailer and the kayaks, I assume he's licensed in town to be doing business down there. That's an assumption I made, but I don't really know that to be true. He has 2 trucks now. I don't think he must deliver other places. He actually has a house or at least seasonally over on Beechwood in off season. So, but I don't know that to be true.
The issue is whether or not he is conducting a business on the beach or he's just delivering. And it's something the manager and I talked about last week, and as best as I can tell from the years of seeing that truck he's delivering, he doesn't stop and plant himself in one place. I see Barbara. No?
He doesn't, but he is conducting business.
Those people are paying a fee for the use of those kayaks, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, we had one instance of a business trying to rent kayaks from their establishment, and that was summarily.
So the question is, why is this then okay? I guess if all he's done is put them on the trailer.
No, it was somebody.
I know what you're talking about.
It's in place, as opposed to him having customers by telephone and he's just delivering it. In other words,
It sounds like an end around
he
it.
doesn't have a pizza parlor at Goose Rocks Beach. He delivers.
So, okay, so the other suggestion I was going to make, if you do go to the chief of police, the thing that I thought of that may be possible, and it may just be resident-only traffic on season, because the surfers are nuts if you keep them dropping the surfboards off, and when the low pressure system's hit, I can almost guarantee that they'd be an uproar. But to me, I don't know how else you limit the traffic down there unless you limit it to the people who have driveways that have the cars coming in and out. Otherwise, I'm not sure what really benefit you would have. So
It's not a private road, it's a public road. That's,
yeah, no, I understand. But there's also, so it's either that or you have to enforce the no stopping or parking, and it's got to be one or the other. If you're going to try to affect it,
okay. We know the issues well, unfortunately.
I have to state my name.
And where do you live?
Oh, okay. Betty Tasty, 15 New Bedford Road. Is there something that says that the police cannot park in a homeowner's driveway to catch people?
No, they can park in the homeowners. Usually they have to be invited by that homeowner to park.
Well, I'm inviting them. Because I'll tell you, this idea that 25 miles an hour, it wouldn't matter if it was 10 miles an hour, the way they rip up and down our road. I mean, I have 5 grandchildren. I don't want to see one of them splattered all over New Bedford Road. So how do I go about inviting them?
I can let the chief know if you want to email me your contact information.
Okay, I'll get your email afterwards.
Sure, that sounds good.
Okay.
Just so we're not advertising on public.
Okay, another question is Binnacle Hill, I know, is coming down onto New Bedford Road. The addition, is it an addition to Binnacle Hill?
It's a phase 2.
Phase 2? And where is that going to come?
I believe they're negotiating for a connector to the existing road, but I'm not sure where they're going to come out, their prime entrance and exit.
But it's going to come down through Binnacle Hill.
Well, no.
Is it going to go Henshaw's Way?
Maybe I haven't seen the site plan, but I know that I know that from reading the application, that they are intending, if they can negotiate with private parties, to extend the road from Phase 2 into Phase 1.
Okay.
But they obviously will have a separate ingress and egress, and I'm not sure where that is.
I would say that's part of the planning board process right now, so that hasn't been fully determined at this point.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I'm Stu Tatey from 15 Woodford Road, and I live with that lady. Is there any restriction or any rule or any ordinance against the possibility of putting, even if it's temporary, speed bumps on New Bedford Road?
That is an issue for selectmen and the manager. I know that one of the suggestions that came out of the sort of elder care committee was speed bumps.
I'm sorry, Rich, I can't hear you.
Speed bumps
I'm
on.
partially deaf. I haven't heard a word the committee said so far, but that's okay.
Stu, you need to have your hearing aids. I know you have them.
I have them in, actually, but I wish those mics were as loud as this mic.
Okay, well, let me speak a little bit closer to the mic. There was a suggestion from one of the people who responded to the survey from the Elder Committee about speed bumps on Kings Highway. And it would seem to me that if the selectmen were going to go that route, they would also do it for the distance that's 25 miles an hour on New Bedford Road. It's pretty expensive.
It's what?
It's pretty expensive.
Expensive?
Expensive. The speed bumps aren't cheap.
So can I
It seems
just
like a
say,
cheap solution to the
Yeah.
speeding on there.
so the speed bump idea has come up before the beach committee before, and they did look at that issue. Some people have brought it up because if you've been over to Fortune's Rocks, they have those speed tables almost over there. And so we did look at the cost of those so that they would be seasonal, so they would not be there in the winter when we're plowing. And one of the issues that we talked about was certainly the noise vibration that occurs from those living near the speed bumps. So every time a vehicle goes over one, you hear a boom, boom when they come up and a boom, boom when they come down.
Well, I think there are speed bumps and there are speed bumps. I mean, I don't think,
And there are drivers and there are drivers.
yeah, I understand
So-
that. I mean, I don't think.
Right, and I'm not telling you here to have them explain the history. And so at that time, the beach committee decided to not bring the idea forward to the selectmen. I mean, your question about is there a rule or ordinance, I mean, we have to be concerned with things like, liability and safety and, all those things that we are concerned about every day. But there's no state statute or town ordinance that would not allow speed tables or speed bumps if the selectmen so decided. I think the selectmen are hesitant because certainly this is not the only place in town that there have been concerns about speeding, and that if they start to put them out, there will be requests in other parts of the town as well. So they're hesitant to deploy them unless they feel it's necessary, and I think it's something that the beach committee has discussed in the past, but did not move forward.
I just think it's a great trade-off. The cost of a speed bump is a one-time cost versus keeping the patrolman back and forth up and down New Bedford Road trying to hold down the speed limit from the people who, as Mr. C has said, truly are going 40, 45, 50 miles an hour down that road. And I tell you, we just don't have the police presence on that road. Now, speed bumps to me seems like a very cheap alternative. But, you know, that's just my idea.
Why don't we discuss that issue when we get to other new business, and move through the agenda and then bring that up later on. All right, spring cleanup. Bill Nixon, I guess, is not going to be here tonight. He was supposed to give a Natural Resources Committee report and talk about the spring cleanup. As you probably know, there's a voluntary effort to clean up the beach, get the lobster traps and what have you off of the beach before the season really begins. And the town has cooperated with the volunteers by having a dumpster available, and sometimes it's been coordinated with the Conservation Trust. So, as I understand it, it is scheduled for May 12th, and with a suggestion that maybe they might start on May 11th. I know that Paul Hogan has sent a letter to the appropriate agency in the state to determine whether or not a permit is required. With the storms we've had, apparently a lot of the plantings that were done, the grasses that were planted, were probably lost. And whether or not a permit is necessary to do any replanting. And I guess a lot of it depends on what's the condition of the beach when we get to May. I know that there are some of the steps and stairs or what have you are on other people's property. You've got a couple. There are lots of lobster traps, and some people complaining that the town doesn't pick up the lobster traps. And there is a lot of seaweed on the east end of the beach, where you usually don't see very much of it. It seems as if it is all over. So it's hopefully the ocean will clean some of it up, but the volunteers, and I would think that Paul Hogan would be, if you're interested in volunteering, to get in touch with Paul Hogan or Bill Nixon. Bill's contacts are on the town website. He's a member of this committee. Anything else to add about this cleanup?
Yeah, I just, having walked the beach now a couple times now, Richard, there is a lot of stuff that has come up. Lobster traps are prevalent, debris from lobster industries are around, stairs, parts of stairs, what used to be stairs that aren't stairs anymore, buoys, you name it, it's come up. But one thing I've noticed is, and my wife is particularly sensitive to this, is that a lot of this stuff has become embedded in the rock walls. And so if you do something or try to get ahead of it, be very, very careful. I'm told if I touch a rock wall, I'm dead. So I'm going, okay, I won't touch a rock wall, I promise. But Carol's thumb is all messed up because of that as a child, and she's very sensitive to this. So May 12th, we can appreciate help to clean up. we will clean up. We'll get a dumpster probably down by the store. A lot of us are already picking up. I have a pile of stuff behind my house already, so does Bill, for things that we've been picking up off the beach for the last 2 or 3 weeks now. And we will take that stuff and get it off the beach. A lot of these lobster traps are disfigured, they're pointed, they're rusted, there's boards with nails in them. I mean, the last thing I want anything to do, anyone to do, is to walk on the beach and get stuck and by some of the debris that's been caught up here. So I'd appreciate it if you would take and participate. If you're on the beach and you see some stuff, stay out of the walls, but if you can move it close to the wall, for now, that'll help us gather it and keep it relatively safe until we can get to May 12th.
I just had a question, since I've not been here and experienced this degree of high tides and damage and beach damage before, and I haven't been really down on the beach much since you wisely put the rocks into those entrances. So, but when I did see it, I was, as you said, appalled by the amount of seaweed and sand that had been washed up onto the dune area. I mean, the dunes and the rock walls appear to have done their job in keeping the houses mostly safe, except for a lot of steps that are floating towards Ireland or elsewhere on the beach. But the dunes look like they really took it on the chin. You know, some of them look like they were sliced in half. And I guess what I'm saying is, I mean, we want to say maybe Mother Nature will take care of it, but I'm thinking the stuff that's up on the dunes, the dune grass in that area, if Mother Nature takes care of that, it's only because we're having another astronomically high tide. Was there a great deal of beach erosion or sand erosion? I mean, there was tons of sand, obviously, that came out onto the streets, and the town did a wonderful job cleaning up the streets. We had those huge piles sitting at each entranceway. So I guess partly what I'm getting to is getting all that seaweed off and maybe trying to do any repair to the sand dunes. Is that just something that we as volunteers will be doing, or is the town?
You can't touch a sand dune.
You can't touch a sand
You
dune?
can't touch a sand dune.
Once.
No, you
So-
can't repair it.
So if we, so the question is who owns the beach?
Oh, we heard that question before,
Right.
yes.
We always revert back to it, don't
Yes.
we? And so in a dune restoration project, you could work on that, but I guess the question is, who's the owner of that dune? So we have met with DEP right after the last storm. We had DEP representative down, met with her, and also Werner and Matt walked the beach, took a lot of pictures. We have reached out, of course, DEP is one aspect of it. We also have done some of that beach profiling with University of Maine Cooperative Extension, and then we also have reached out to the Maine Geological Survey Division of the Department of Agriculture. They have, of course, were reached out by other communities who also had similar kinds of issues. But we are working with them on scheduling a date. We've sent them pictures. We're looking at some of that previous data, and we're looking for their advice. You know, will this be Mother Nature returning this? Should people be taking action? How long might it take? And so we're waiting for that meeting with them.
The last time we tried to do something like that in the early 2000s, it took us the whole season to get a small permit to do it. And I think we had, so we missed the season, and guess what? It got restored. But the other one was the stinky pond that we had down at the end. We had to get permits eventually to do that, but that was there, geez, I think that was there most of the summer, wasn't it? Remember that? That cesspool that was there on the beach, it was just all bacterial type stuff that was breaking down. And on the seaweed, when we wanted to clean the seaweed a couple of times, it may have changed in the last 4 or 5 years, but you can only take the seaweed to the water line. You can't remove it. At least that was the rule. I don't know if it's still the rule. And that's what we ran into when we were trying to get this, not a man-made, but a storm-made pond cleaned up.
Well, there may be more than usual, but in past years, at least in the east end, the tides, without a storm, eventually cleaned up the seaweed, not so much on the west end.
Right, well, I'm looking at mostly the east end, because that's the area I'm most familiar with, and I'm thinking, in the east end, the seaweed was way up over where a normal, even the highest normal tide I've seen comes to. So that's what I was, and from what you're saying, I guess I'm a little confused because as the volunteer effort goes up and works, I mean, we did all the planting in there, so.
You had a permit to do
Unless-
the planting, though.
Is it the conservation?
No,
Trust
it's the
out
deed,
there?
it's usually
Yeah,
the DEP.
DEP had given us a permit for rule to do the plantings. So that's what Paul has written to DEP to confirm whether we can still work on those plantings based on the previous permit or whether we need a new one.
Yeah, we had to, everything you do on a dune basically requires a permit. And sometimes it takes, what Lori's trying to do and Warner is trying to do, it's not, unfortunately, it's not quick. But maybe it will be this year because of all the damage, but it hasn't been in the past. But the lobster traps and things like that, I can remember when the Rotary used to do the pickup. I can remember one year we got 140 traps, and we took them out, and the town removed them. Once we took them out, put them right at the corner of Dyke Road and Kings Highway. And there were 140 something, or I think there's been probably more than that, some years even since then. But pieces, and the problem with them are that you gotta dig them out, and we had a number of people get caught even with gloves on. So you have to watch, it's not a safe operation. It's tough, it's really tough. So we had to get a pickup truck down there with a rope to pull some, we dig as many as we could out, but then you have to pull some of them out. That's the only way you can get them out. And if you don't get them out, they're gonna hurt somebody during summer. So it's a never-ending battle every single year. Yeah.
Right, here's a question.
Yeah, sorry, just, you told me you told to quiet down. So, just thinking about all the sand that they took off the beach, and we saw dump truck after dump truck going, and understanding you want to do dune restoration, but putting that sand on the beach, just letting the ocean sort of do its job and redistributing it, is that part of the, don't touch kind of piece? Because I was sort of...
So we didn't take any sand off the beach.
Sorry, the sand that came off the beach on the streets, sorry, yes, to be clear, it didn't
Yes.
the sand that had come off the beach on the
Yeah.
streets that was then trucked
So,
off-site.
right, some of it was trucked to the public works yard, some were stored more locally. So we have talked to them about that. We cannot just go put sand back on there. One of the things that we have talked to them about is the fact that we would like to put about 100 yards back at Edgewood where we have the handicap entrance because there's an elevation difference there, so we can put that ramp back out there. They've told us as long as we stay out of the dunes and we do a permit per rule, we can do that entrance. So as I said, we're waiting for the other state agency to come in and talk to us more about some of those other pieces so we know how much further we should move in that direction.
I mean, I'm literally talking about dumping it at the water line, just letting the tides sort of redistribute it, and that stuff. Okay, thanks.
And the permit by rule takes about 30 days, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
once
something
you
like that.
apply.
Once you apply.
So, can I say, I have two neighbors, they have private rights of way that are open to people in their areas, it's not just their own home. These two rights of way have been pretty much washed out of sand, and it would be terrific if that sand could be put back into where there's now rocks and trimmers, and the rights of way are basically almost useless because of what was washed out from there. Would that require DEP approval again or something? We're not going to the beach. All I'm trying to do is get the same dump truck that took the sand that was on the street in front of where the Tides Hotel is basically, and bring it back down to where these people are down at the west end of the beach. Is that possible? I'm not trying to...
So if people want to talk about individual issues, we should talk offline.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't have a general piece of advice.
Fair enough. No, but as long as you tell me it's not totally prohibited, then I will be happy to come and talk.
I'm saying I'd be happy to talk offline.
I'll be happy to talk offline also. Okay, thank you. What time can I talk to you? I'll call.
You and I have talked about that. They're private rights of way. My own view is if they're willing to give the town an easement, then maybe the town should do something. Otherwise, no. Okay, storm preparation, and the issue is on the agenda because of the amount of sand that between Bel Air and Proctor, every one of the streets were inundated, sort of halfway to Wildwood, where it's sand. I guess in previous years, the Public Works Department had put large stones in the pathways, which at least slowed down the amount of water and sand that were in a big storm. They didn't do it this year until some of the residents complained. And Lori, you and I talked about it. Public Works said, well, we couldn't do it because the Beach Advisory Committee didn't want the stones there. And if any of you have heard that explanation, it's false. I'm not sure what the communication was and who made the decision, but the Beach Advisory Committee was not involved in saying, don't block those.
What I understand is that there was some communication, and this was before my time. I think before there was an official beach committee, or maybe right at the beginning, I don't know, that people were complaining about the town blocking access to people to the beach during the winter months because of putting the stones there. And that there was a thought that we only wanted beachfront people to have access to the beach.
But Lori, we've been...
I'm telling you what I know.
No, I understand.
And I agree that this committee, since I've been a part of it, has not ever made that statement.
And we'll get to it later on, but Public Works is also blaming us for some issue in terms of the cleaning sidewalks of snow. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But in any case, hopefully the issue is resolved. Yes, we want access to the beach, but there are a number of public entranceways to the beach that are not ones that are a threat for the ocean coming across the Kings Highway or sand coming into Kings Highway. So it isn't every access point that's open, should be open in the wintertime, and certainly those stones need to be there. Not only does it benefit the residents, it also benefits Public Works because they were just, every high tide, they had to go out there and shovel or have a front end loader to clean up the streets and then pile the sand and haul the sand away. So it was, in some ways, some of it was an unnecessary expense. Anybody else have any comments in terms of the storm preparation? All right. Bob, you asked to have item 7 on the agenda.
I just been thinking about what the Beach Advisory Committee has done in the last several years. Some people say, what do you guys really do? And I thought it might just be fun to quickly recap some of the things that we have done. We worked really hard to get some brochures that are well defined, that help us understand the rules of the beach and give especially people who are visiting a sense of what's expected, including keeping off rock walls and being respectful of people's property and understanding what the 25-foot preferred right use is for the people that own the beachfront properties and so forth. That has been a big thing for us. Getting our brochures all put together that take care of things with dogs, the environment, with natural, with wildlife and so forth that come down. I'm pretty proud of that. We really helped make a difference that is ecologically balanced, and I think I've been really pleased with the effort that people have put in. The effort to come in and get the dog ordinance done. Barwise really helped us a lot to put this together. And we have one of the best dog ordinances around as far as I'm concerned. You want to see something more difficult, you want to see the people over Kennebunkport Beach in the meeting that they had. The guy said, I got a gun, and if the dog comes after me, I'm going to shoot him. Whoa, hello, there's got to be a better way to do that than that. But that's the kind of things we've done. We've done a really good job to help bring balance in terms of use to the beach in that regard as well. I thought that we've had a really good cooperation with our courtesy officers. The town has gone to a really good extent to hire people. We've had repetitive, year after year, people that come back again. They're experienced. They really are here as courtesy officers to help people. And it's been another thing that I think we've helped them do in our history. And finally, between the signage, the beach rules, and so forth, and the cooperation that's here, I think it's really gone well. I think we have a hole, Richard, and I just want to put this on the table. We don't have very good job descriptions for what we should be doing here in our deal. They're defined in broad terms on the Beach Advisory Committee, but we don't really say, here's what the chairman's job is, here's what the secretary is going to do. We haven't done a good job of defining that. And I think we'd help ourselves out if we would take someone, and if you're asking me, I'll do it, volunteer to come in and help put together some job description so we know. When we say, okay, would you like to be the secretary? Here's your job. You're going to help somebody, you're going to do this. People will know what's expected of them when they go forward with this. So if you will think that's a good idea, and I don't want to do this, but I think it's going to be a good idea, you can say to me, Bob, would you do that? Because I'm doing this, and I say, yes, I will do that. That's it, I'm done.
Bob, would you do it?
I second that.
You knew that was coming.
Yeah, I knew it was coming, that's all right. I knew it was going to be part of it.
I'm happy to help you with it.
I just think we ought to make sure.
No, I think
We've
it's
had
a
some
good
things
point.
fall between the cracks here, and I'd like to make sure we've got our bases just a little better covered. It's just one of
I
those
agree.
things. Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next item is, we have elections, and all of you who are signatories of the beach use agreement, that's some 63, 64 beachfront owners, and I don't know, somewhere's around 180 or so backlot owners, will receive a ballot in the mail and an invitation to run for office if you so wish. And it is not restricted to full-time residents. It's restricted, though, to those who signed the beach use agreement, or someone who has bought a house where the prior owner signed the beach use agreement. There are 3 seats that are up. One is a beachfront owner, and Russ, I know it's your turn. Your term is up, but hopefully you've only been on for 1 term. Hopefully you'll stay on. The other one, one of the other ones is the at-large, which is someone who actually is on the ballot, the town ballot, and Mike Weston currently holds that seat. And if you're new to town, Mike has been selectman, beach advisory committee, planning board chair, library board, and I think Mike has decided that it's time to travel or whatever, or to smell the roses, and he's not going to run again. And the third one is my seat, which is a backlot seat, and I've been on the Beach Advisory Committee from its inception 5.5 years, and I'm not going to run for re-election. There's a caveat: if nobody else puts their name up, I don't want to see a vacancy on the board. But other than that, those are the 3 seats, and when will the letters go out? Well,
So right now, we're notifying new owners of property to determine who their voter designee will be. And then in April, at the beginning of April, we'll send out applications to everyone to be on the ballot. And then April 21st, the ballots will be mailed out, and Election Day will be May 18th.
And the election day is returning your ballot to the town, with the exception of the at-large. The at-large would be at the
June town meeting.
at the June voting. Next is the town manager's report. Is there anything that we haven't gone over that you would like to address, Laura?
Well, you've beat me up quite a bit.
No,
I
come
mean,
on now.
I would say the only thing I would like to make sure people are aware of is, because we've been talking about the storm damage, if there is any construction that people need to do with their seawalls or other property, remember if you are beachfront that the plovers are back April 1st, and that there are fines associated with having heavy equipment and noise and agitating the plovers. And so you want to make sure that you're doing that in concert with Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. Werner has been working with both DEP and Inland Fisheries and Wildlife to try and put together a simple FAQ sheet to help property owners, but just be thinking about that as you plan your repairs.
Can I just ask a question, Lori? My neighbor is currently in, I think, Australia. They've had 2 sets of stairs wash up onto their dune grass area. I'm not sure how to get that stuff off. It's big, it's heavy, it's not 2 guys, I mean, it'll take 10 guys to lift what's left on their beachfront. How do I guide them in terms of what they can do there?
So you're thinking they're gonna need equipment out there?
Yeah, it's more than a man's gonna do.
Right. So, I mean, you can work with DEP and Inland Fisheries. They want to make sure that you have spotters, they want to make sure, I mean, I'm not going to go into that detail, because I don't want people to use that as a checkoff list to go out and start doing it. You want to make sure that you have notified them first of the work and what you plan to do. But they understand that this work needs to be done, and they will work with you. Maybe not in the way you would like, but there are ways to get there. Just don't go out and do it yourself. That's all I'm saying, without contacting them. Be thinking about that as part of your plan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other new business. Before we get to speed bumps, let me do a couple of other items that Kate got an email. One I mentioned briefly, and that's the sidewalk snow removal. And the Public Works, again, in responding to someone who said that the snow removal equipment does damage to their property, and that the equipment is too large to clear the sidewalk. And the issue is that we, the Beach Advisory Committee, directed the Public Works Department to clean the sidewalks. Well, I know we requested.
So I mean, you guys had a lot of conversation about this last year, about the ability to clean the sidewalks, and we talked about it at length. We are cleaning those sidewalks because of your request to do that. Now, certainly, you're not responsible for us doing work inappropriately, but that's not what's happening out there.
Well, as I recall,
We have received complaints when we went out there to snow blow, and people were told, yes, this was a desire that we heard from the Beach Advisory Committee, that they heard from other people. They wanted to be able to access the sidewalks, and we're taking an extra effort to make sure that's done.
as I recall the discussion, Lori, it was, they've always cleaned the sidewalks. Why weren't they cleaning them when we had the discussion? I guess that can prompted them to again try to clean the sidewalks, but it's not a new issue. I mean, they have been cleaning the sidewalks for a considerable period of time.
There had been a number of years where they were not doing it. You know,
Okay.
I went to my town historian to ask her, but I don't know how many years there were and weren't. But yeah, certainly we were trying to make an extra effort to make sure the sidewalks were cleaned off. So we got some feedback from some people who were impacted by that they wanted us to stop. I don't know how it's been this year with sidewalks plowed, you know, if people feel like it's been better access, or whether it's been worth the time and effort or not.
Well, even when you clean the sidewalks, people do walk in the street.
Yeah.
And that is not just on Kings Highway, it's anywhere where there's sidewalks and there's snow and what have you. But the sidewalks are there for people to walk on. It is it's a narrow roadway, and if the sidewalks were clean, for safety reasons, I would hope people would use them as opposed to the street. There were a number of comments that the Elder Committee had from their survey. One of them was additional handicap spaces where we have the mat for handicap access. I don't believe there's a handicap space there. I could be wrong.
Where are we talking?
Where you have mats, like at Edgewood.
Oh, at the
and
map.
Jefferson,
I thought you said
right?
map.
No.
Okay. I think there is one near, yeah,
There was one there.
There is
near
one?
Edgewood,
I
yeah.
thought there's at least one, yeah.
The comment,
Two.
On each side, yeah.
Yeah.
the comment was Goose Rocks needs at least 2 additional handicap parking places near the mat walkway to the beach. So I guess that person is, okay. Well, we're not going to have a long discussion on this, but someone is objecting to our dog ordinance, and we had quite a time getting to a point where everyone could agree to disagree with the ordinance, and I'm hoping the selectmen do not change it. It works. It accommodates people who want to go early and let their dogs run without a leash, as long as they are on voice control. And we accommodated the people who don't want to be on the beach when there's a dog that's not on a leash. And then, of course, there are the people who are, in the summertime, using the beach for recreation. So, my own opinion is we wound up with a pretty good dog ordinance, and it may be different from some of the other municipalities, but it works for us.
I think, was that referring to on-season or off-season changes?
Oh, well.
Maybe less restrictive off-season, is that what it?
I'll read it to you.
I can't remember.
Okay. I find the beach rules surrounding permitting dogs on beach much too restrictive, especially in summer. 6 to 7 a.m. is inconvenient for me. Also would like off-season less restrictive too. It seems that other local communities have a much friendlier dog policy. A few crabby people have made it unreasonable. Okay. So I guess some of us on this board who
Crabby.
were crabby.
I said-
Okay.
Sorry.
And some who are in the audience who were part of this. I didn't ask for a raise of hands.
I can understand the part about 6 to 7 a.m. not being convenient, but you live with it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
okay.
No, I think the dog ordinance, which was worked on extensively, works very well.
And someone raised the perennial question of Kings Highway during the summer being one way. And we've talked about that, and there probably is no way to address it. So let's go back to the issue that the Tacy's have raised, and was also raised by someone in the Elder Committee, and that is speed bumps. We have a situation in Goose Rocks that is a disaster waiting to happen, and that is parking on Kings Highway in the best of times. When there are no cars parked on Kings Highway, it is still pretty narrow. And this time of year, just a few cars, you still have to weave a little bit. And we do have some commercial traffic, not a lot. I'm talking not construction vehicles, but so delivery vehicles for the tides and so on. So it is, it's an issue that the town has faced, and at least in the past have been able to get the speed on Kings Highway reduced. It helps. It's not a perfect solution. And last year we suggested on New Bedford, where it's 25 miles an hour, that be reduced in the season. Apparently the DOT disagrees. Now, speed bumps, they certainly slow you down. And there will be people who will complain about the speed bumps if the town goes that direction. But it is one way to address the problem, and to have people periodically slow down and not enough space in between the speed bumps so that they can speed up. So I know that it's pretty difficult in the season to do even 20 miles an hour on Kings Highway on the east end. The west end is another story. The people generally do not adhere to the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. And those of us who walk Kings Highway for exercise see it all the time and every time. So I open it to the board, question of speed bumps. Opinion. As I understand the manager's comment earlier, that we haven't recommended it to the selectmen. So should we recommend to the selectmen that we have speed bumps?
You know, New Bedford Road is not the only place that has a problem with speeding. You know, in front of our house at Cape Porpoise, one year when they did the testing, again, going out Pier Road, we had 1,100 passes in 4.5 hours. That means out and back, the pier and back. And the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit is not met there either, for the most part. But to put speed bumps there would be a real problem, because we have the fishermen going out there every day with their traps in the back and everything else like that, and we can't do it. But there are other areas in town, Ocean Avenue is one, that also have the same problem. So, I mean, if you're going to look at one area, I think you've got to look at the whole town. And when we looked at New Bedford Road, correct me if I'm wrong, when we looked at what it was going to cost, I think it was Sheila who told us that one of those things is, I think she said, was in the thousands of dollars for one of them. I don't remember the number. It was
15 or something.
yeah, 15. $1,500, $2,000, and how many you gonna need, you know?
No, I think 15,000.
15,000, okay, yeah. I know it was in the thousands of dollars, that's what I remember.
15,000.
I'm sorry, for
what
one
color?
speed bump?
It depends on what kind you
What
get.
kind
Or
is
you
it?
were
It's
looking at
rubber
the one similar to they have over at Biddeford.
Yeah.
Fortunes.
You can't
Fortunes
because
rock.
of snowplow.
This is the one we wouldn't, we'd have to
wouldn't
have
be able to do it.
removable ones.
Yeah, but we've put speed bumps on Beaver Pond. Now, obviously, maybe they're not as good a quality, but we weren't anywhere near that kind of price, because
You
this
don't
was
have
just the
the traffic
homeowners.
there either.
Oh, you'd be surprised how much
You don't
traffic
have-
we have coming
you don't
down
have the
there.
same
Not as
traffic
much
there.
as the New Bedford, but it's not exactly a private road.
Those are potholes though, aren't they? Not speed bumps.
Hey, if we leave the potholes, nobody's gonna come near it this year. But no,
Mike, you know, there is a difference. In front of your house, there is no parking.
No, there is. There's 2 parking spaces in front of our house,
But-
and they use them.
But you have a road that 2 cars can pass.
2 cars can pass, but not when the trucks are coming.
Well,
Very difficult on that curve.
well, in
And don't forget out the other end, where the causeway is, the town in its infinite wisdom, when they decided to put sidewalks in just a number of years ago, or fix the sidewalks, decided that the solution for a sidewalk going down that hill out there was to paint a striped line. So there's no sidewalk, there's a stripe. So if you go from the top of the hill, or the beginning of the top of the hill, to all the way out to the pier, all there is a striped line, and those cars fly down the hill, and they fly up the hill.
well,
So-
we've exacerbated the issue on Biddeford Road because we've allowed the parking. I mean, it is designated
And it
parking
is
in
out
the
there, that's parking
ordinance.
all the way out there.
You
So,
don't have 2 lanes on New Biddeford Road in the 25-mile-an-hour
I
zone.
don't disagree with you. All I'm saying, I don't disagree. I'm not arguing about it at all. All I'm saying is that there's other areas in town that also could benefit from them, and people could get them. And they're not cheap.
No, but I think one of the issues is we invite people to the town and to Goose Rocks, and we charge them for parking, even the residents, nominal fee, but we do have to be concerned about the pedestrian traffic, the kids. I mean, every year it is an issue of the young kids, no helmets, riding their bicycles, and, you know, we've had the discussion with the Goose Rocks Beach Association, and they indicated some cooperation, but you still see the kids there. So, I mean, it is something that really needs to be addressed. It would be great if we had no parking on Kings Highway in terms of traffic movement. But we do have the parking, and people couldn't get in here if we didn't have the parking. So somehow or another, we have to address that problem, and there's a section of New Bedford Road which is exactly the same, and we now have new development. And how many houses is it? Like
I have no
30,
idea.
something like 30 lots.
well, 15 if they add, was it 15, and if they add
15.
another
13,
13,
28.
so you're almost at 30, yeah.
So, and obviously, people are going to build their houses anticipating that they're going to use the beach. And that means walking New Bedford Road or what have you, and down to Jeffries Way or somewheres along Kings Highway. And people, Mike, that what they have wagons or what have you to transport all of the stuff that they want on the beach, and we discourage people from leaving their stuff on the beach, so they haul it there and they haul it back. And we've been lucky all these years that there hasn't been a major traffic accident with some injuries.
So what we did a few years ago to provide that the walking area didn't help.
Well,
We
you
did
mean
that
in New
with-
Bedford Road?
New Bedford Road.
Yeah, I mean, it helps somewhat in it isolates the parking people, but I would tell you, the trucks and the pedestrians and the residents and tourists and construction people in the 30-mile-an-hour zone, 50-mile-an-hour, those cars, once they leave Route 9 and come
We
down.
did this, I don't disagree that there are some people that speed, that's for sure, because we get it too in front of our house. But when the chief, when we did all that study that we had done with radar and everything else that we did, that wasn't proven to be fact.
He only did it in the 25-mile-an-hour zone. He did not do it on the 30-mile-an-hour zone. That's the area that I'm talking about where they're 50 miles an hour.
Can I just take a different approach? I mean, speed bumps seem to me like they would be effective, for sure. Building them permanently causes lots of problems. I'm curious if we ever thought about the school zone concept. That is to say, you got a flashing light, you say it's a school zone. Are those effective? Do people stop then? Could we therefore designate something like a school zone for summer beach traffic zone or whatever the heck we want to designate it? Have a flashing light when you come down to Bedford Road, it's right there, baby, you're speeding, and look at that little police officer just waiting to write your ticket because the town needs some money. I mean, does that concept work? Has anybody tried that or thought about that?
Town doesn't get the money.
Okay, bad idea, but
I still think, Bob, that I think it's a good possibility, but I still think you come down to the people who are, whether we lower it to 20 or whether we put in that, they don't care, they'll go as fast as they want to. The only thing, at least I think we should open the discussion about speed bumps, because that's one thing that might give them some self-interest in slowing down, because they're going to damage their car if they don't. But I agree that this, with you, Richard, and everybody here really that's spoken to this, that as we've got new developments going in and there are more and more people, from my own observation, there are more and more people who are parking like on the other side over on Goose Rocks Road and walking down. Now that's talking Dyke Road, not New Bedford Road. We don't know how many more property or pedestrian traffic we might have coming from Sandy Pines, since they are supposedly not going to bus people over there. And there are a limited number of parking spaces, so people are going to have to get there some way. It sounds to me, as this area becomes both more built up, more attractive, more widely advertised as a tourist attraction, which is lovely in some ways, but it is possibly a horrible accident waiting to happen. And I think that trying to, I wasn't around for, I don't think, for previous discussions about speed bumps or whatever. I'm a little surprised at the cost figures being mentioned, but I think it's something, personally, I think it's something we need to look, some mechanisms, and that to me is one of the more effective mechanisms. No matter how many signs you post, there's always going to be the guy that is not going to pay attention to it, and that's the person that can be hitting a child on a bike or whatever.
So Kate, that's just why I'm trying to go outside the box here.
Yeah.
The flashing light is not a $25,000 investment.
Right,
Right?
but
No, but wait, let me finish this. And if you could just designate this or have ways to designate this as a slow speed zone or a school zone or a summer use zone or whatever it can be, and rarely use lights to say, you're here, baby, it's time to slow it down, and oh, by the way, we have the right to do something about it. Or, do you have any experience, Lori, with that? Are school zones, basically, people really pay attention when you go to a school zone? Any idea?
I think, like most things, it's about enforcement in those zones, but school zones are regulated under state statute. And so they have a special speed requirement that they can refer to. We wouldn't have, still where the speed is regulated by DOT. So we could, some of you have seen probably those flashing signs that they've been putting up that, not the big ones, but the little ones that say, here's what the speed limit is, and it flashes if it says too fast or go slow or something, and it has your speed limit. what they find is that those are effective for a period of time, you know what I mean? And then as people get adjusted to them. So we have one of those that we got through the DOT to use at different intersections. It's pretty unwieldy. I know Kennebunkport got one and has used it. So what they suggest is that you put it up for a little while and take it away, you know, then you put it up. So you don't do it all the time. You know, it's like most difficult problems, it's not one quick fix.
You know, the problem, even our suggestion for New Bedford Road to reduce the speed limit to 20 miles an hour and what was done on Kings Highway doesn't fully address the fact that 20 miles an hour is probably too fast, given the conditions of the road, the parking, the pedestrians, and the speed bumps. Probably are the only thing that would reduce the speed limit so that people would be doing maybe 15. I mean, the state, it was a hard thing to have the state approve 20 miles an hour on Kings Highway. And I know that I drive it every day. And I know in the season, I can't do 20 miles an hour. I can do 25 now, but in the season where every parking space is taken, and there are people crossing from the beach and people walking in the street, I would hope that the Beach Advisory Committee would vote to at least have the selectmen consider it, explore it, find out what the cost would be, and maybe, you know, have a traffic engineer respond as to how valid it would be to have the speed bumps. I mean, we know it, in other municipalities they have them, and we know they work.
So what do we need, a motion?
But I think whatever we say is a recommendation that they look at it.
Yes.
You know, we don't get to decide yea or nay.
That's
So if
true.
we have
don't
enough
decide.
people that are concerned about the speed, especially with all of the new construction that's going in down New Bedford Road, it's a reasonable thing to ask for them to at least take a look. And a lot of people seem to like speed bumps, and it's the only thing that, as you said, self-regulate. If my car is gonna go bang, I am definitely slowing down.
Or just to help, I think it makes sense too. I would have asked the selectmen to look at this, but just for clarification, the ones that are unfortunate rocks are the ones that are put up in the summer and then taken down in the winter. They're the $15,000 ones, as I recall, right? Aren't they?
I was looking back at my notes to see if I had a note on it, but it was a substantial amount of money.
Yeah, something like that, right?
Yep.
And I'm sorry, and the problem with a permanent speed bump, whether they're little ones or extended ones, are still, it messes up the plumbing, the plowing in the
We
winter.
would not put in permanent speed bumps, I can guarantee you of that, because of the plowing.
Because it's the plowing
Right,
issue.
right, in the
Okay,
state
just
of
wanted
Maine,
to-
people only put in seasonal.
We have in Texas, see, they have in Texas, but they don't do much plowing still in Texas.
Okay, well, is same issue, Betty? Sure. But you have to come up to the mic.
Kings Highway is kind of self-controlled by the fact that when you've got cars parked there and there are cars going the two ways. There is something about New Bedford Road. When they come to above where the King's Estate is and they see that straightaway, it's just too much of a temptation. And now it's going to be even worse because the cars are going to have to park out a little bit further because the sewers went in. So all those sewer connections are there, and you can't park on them. You understand what I'm saying? We've got these things, the sewer connections.
Which side of New Bedford Road are the sewer connections?
Your side
It's
or?
on my side.
On your side, okay.
Well, the sewers are on, connections are on both sides.
I see, yeah.
From the bridge on up toward Binnacle, because the sewers were put in for Binnacle.
Lori,
But
why are sewer connections obstructing the?
It should not be.
they shouldn't be, I know, but they are. The
They
one
may-
in front of our house is this high.
It might be because of the, I don't know if it's that high, that would be pretty high. But I would say it might just be because we haven't done the paving for the spring. And so it hasn't been flattened out yet, you know what I mean? Because it's temporary.
When will the paving be done?
Well, we have to wait for the paving plants to open, so I would say it would probably be in the April-May time period.
Okay, all right.
Are they gonna pave all of New Bedford Road?
So listen, I didn't come prepared with every answer that God might think of tonight.
But I think a smoother, wider New Bedford Road, the speed limits are gonna go up and down.
I would say if the construction work is complete in the road, which it should be now, that we would finish that off this spring.
Okay, if Betty happens,
I think so, yeah.
Talking manhole covers?
Oh, no, the covers are down, the big cover that says sewer. No, they're okay. There's not a problem with those. It's the actual connection for the, what do you call it, the grinder? To the home, to go to the grinder, whatever.
Grinder pumps, yeah.
could you have somebody take a look? Because clearly there's,
I'm sure we will not be having that problem in the spring for people.
great, but just in
I will
case.
certainly not do it.
I am Jeff Alley, Pinnacle Hill, and a resident. And if that sewer connection is up, Laura, I believe that the plan is to do a full overlay in the spring. And if certainly if your sewer connection is up, that's obviously something that we'll address. So.
They all are up, so that may be the happens.
Oh, look, it's already 8 o'clock.
Okay, anything else? Well, let's deal with the motion on the speed bumps.
Yeah.
So I have a motion to ask the selectmen to consider speed bumps on Kings Highway and a section of New Bedford Road that's 25 miles an hour.
At the very least, the New Bedford Road, as I think she very rightly said, Kings Highway in season regulates itself.
Well, the east end, I gather maybe the west end doesn't, but I don't know. I can't speak to that end, but the east end certainly seems to regulate itself. But I definitely agree on New Bedford, and I haven't heard any complaints about Dyke Road, but you have somewhat the same problem with you're turning off a 40-mile-per-hour road, and I've been caught once when I forgot to slow down to 30, and once I get down closer, certainly, so I'm sure a lot of people do that. But I think New Bedford sounds like it's a real problem, potential problem happening.
Just restate the motion, so it's gonna be a motion to ask the selectmen to look at sewer service, look at the speed bumps on the New Bedford Road.
New Bedford Road and Kings Highway, at least the east end.
The east side?
Let's have them look at it.
Okay.
With particular attention to the New Bedford Road, and perhaps, if they were so moved, they can look at Kings Highway. I don't think so,
I
but
do either.
I don't.
Yeah.
I think you might want to focus on one area and try to gain success there and then learn from that experience. So I would choose your most concerning area.
So I would motion that they choose to look at the New Bedford Road and perhaps speed bumps.
Second.
So is that a motion that we ask the selectmen to look at installing speed bumps on the 25 mile an hour area on New Bedford Road?
Yes.
Is that what the motion is?
Sounds like it.
And the second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I
All opposed?
suppose I was thinking about other options, but I'm going to have to speed.
Are you abstaining, Bob?
No, I'm going to vote for that because it's better than nothing. Just the
Okay.
little broad.
So,
So is that a 5-0?
it's a unanimous.
Yeah.
Is it 6-0?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't think it hurts to look at it. I don't-
Okay, I'm just asking.
Okay. Bob, I saw your hand up. No? Okay.
I think he's waving to me. Anyone else?
All right. So, next meeting, the date for the next meeting.
We're looking at May or June?
Joanne, is there a point that Mondays are not the only day for you?
No, it's simply Mondays are the best day. We can do whatever works for the committee.
Okay. So we're in past the middle of March. We will have election, when would the new members take office, Lori?
I think in June.
In June?
After the town meeting, yeah.
Okay, so a meeting between now and June sometime in May.
So we would then have one in May, one in June, and then one in July, and one in August?
Well,
I mean, we usually have 2 in the summer with a more topic of interest type setting for people who are here for the season.
I'm not,
I'm not complaining about it, I'm just trying to clarify, is that what we think we're looking at?
let's try May, and if it becomes necessary, the board can schedule a meeting in June.
Okay.
But, but there usually are some issues, the plovers, the brochures, and what have you. And maybe sometime subsequent to the cleanup, which is May 12th.
So we're looking at maybe May 21st, if we're looking at Mondays. It's either the 14th or the 21st, because the 28th is Memorial Day.
What's your pleasure? If we,
Regarding the meeting.
yeah, regarding the meeting, 14th, 21st, or some,
Did you say before the cleanup?
14th is right after the cleanup.
Or after the cleanup?
21st is the week after the cleanup.
Whatever doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, it also depends on,
On availability. Yeah.
Lori, could you have Arlene check the 14th and the 21st of May for us, please? Shoot me an email, and then I'll contact all the members.
It's probably minor, but 14th is a little better for me, because they have high school graduations over in Texas. And that's
Okay. All right,
So can I just ask so we're clear that the cleanup day that weekend will be May 11th and 12th? May 11th is a Friday, I think, but 12th and 13th? Just because we have traditionally ordered a dumpster, and I just want to know how firm that is.
well, I think the 12th is firm. Paul,
But I mean that weekend, because we'll have it delivered on a Friday, on a Monday.
Paul had suggested maybe, because of all the damage to the beach, maybe something could be done on the 11th as well.
On Friday, because that's the Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah, the 13th, it's Mother's Day.
Mother Earth will love this.
Either Mother Earth.
All right.
Should order downstairs for that.
Yes, please. The meeting's open to the public again, and any comments, questions? Whoops, I thought you were getting up to put your coat on, Barbara.
No, I just want to make Laurie a little bit later. No, all I want to do is very briefly address the issue of all of the damage on the beach and to advise people we don't need to panic. 78 wiped out the west end of the beach. 91 did another number on the beach. 07, once again, Patriots, the famous Patriots Day storm, and this one 18. For the most part, let it be. It'll come back. It always has. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Ray Lockard again, Moine Bedford. I just wanted to address something that I brought up in my previous comment, and that is the stop sign intersection at Kings High in Moine Bedford. And this is more just information for people that are here, that are residents. I am collecting a set of data, including a significant set of video clips of that stop sign that I intend to provide to the state, the local, and any municipal state office that I think will listen about increased enforcement and the issue that's going on down there. I have a couple of clips that are back-to-backs that if they happened 5 seconds before, some kid with a bike would be on their car. So, I can't sit back and let this happen and do nothing. I will say that I do see the same residents, and I don't know if there's anybody in this room, because I know cars and know their faces, that don't even tap the brakes and go right through it. So I'm here to tell you that from this day forward, I'm not going to show any preference in terms of the data set that's provided. I have municipal trucks, the Oceanside trash pickup. There's not all the contractors. I mean, there's a number of people that unfortunately live around here. This is not a winter, summertime issue. It's worse during that time, but I think they take the cue from the locals. So I just wanted to say that this is a bit of a crusade from my perspective because, as I mentioned, I think if something happens down there, it'll ruin that for us. We'll probably end up having to move if something happens at that intersection because that's all we'll see when we look out the window there. So thank you for taking the time to listen to me right now, and thank you for the committee for all the work you do.
Thank you. You might want to consider sharing what you have with the police department.
And state police and town, once you have data in hand and you go through anything, honestly, we live in an environment where we can go across the bridge. And if you have something.
So we can't have conversations that aren't at Mike.
Yep.
Sorry, it's a moment, and that's what I don't say. In my opinion, this is just a way to get action get done, and unfortunately, you have to show people that there is an issue, and if they don't act, something is going to happen, because then if it does happen, and they have evidence that they should have done something, then they'll have to act, and the risk management, risk assessment aspects of the way people run businesses, governments, things like that, just come into play here, in terms of saying if we don't do something here and something happens, we're going to be in big trouble, and unfortunately, that's just the way that the world turns in some of these aspects, so, that's unfortunately the avenue that not obviously going to give people the opportunity to act here, but hopefully by providing this information and continuing to provide the information, which is not insignificant in terms of 10, 20, 40 incidents a day, of not talking to people that are just rolling through, clearly just gunning it through the intersection there, that maybe we'll get some sort of action, and I'm hoping it's just increased police presence down there, because I think a little bit of that will go a long way.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.